at any point. I'm also going to say, as I just got something pop up on my screen, that my internet and Wi-Fi has been a little wonky, especially since we lost power yesterday, or the day before rather. So bear with me, and we have other people on the MSBC board of directors who can take over if I get bumped off and can't get back in for any reason. So again, welcome to everyone. We'd like to thank the sponsor for today's event, Dirigo Pediatric Dentistry. And tomorrow is our last event. We hope you'll join us. I'm guessing you've seen information. We've been sharing a lot of it on Facebook and in our emails and in our webinars, but we'll be wrapping up the week with a celebration of families with a slideshow of photos and stories that people have submitted over the past couple of weeks. And also these webinars have all been free, but any donations are welcome to support our mission. And I will put in our PayPal information in our chat box in a moment. But I want to share our mission for everyone too. The Maine State Breastfeeding Coalition is a welcoming and broad network of people supporting families who value human milk and breastfeeding. Together, we work to enhance the culture of breastfeeding around the state through professional networking, advocacy, and education. So I want to thank all of you who have participated in coalition activities and supported us all year, and will continue to be doing work to support you in the upcoming year. So before our panelists introduce themselves, we'd love to see who you are. Since we have a big group today and a lot to learn in less than an hour, please take a second to type in your pronouns and the town or state you live in, anything else you'd like to share, maybe how old your baby or your kids are, and the organization that you may be a part of. And hopefully once one person starts that, then others will see and follow suit with those same things. So pronouns, where you live, and anything else about you, like age of your kids or the organization you're part of. And speaking of the chat box, we'll be monitoring it throughout the panel discussion, so please feel free to type in a question at any time. We will be monitoring that, and we'll see if it's an appropriate time to ask that question then, or if we're going to save it toward the end of the panel discussion. Our plan for today is to have our panelists introduce themselves for a couple of minutes, and then I'll be putting some questions forward for them to share a little bit, share their thoughts about those questions. And then we will have time toward the end for you all to either ask more questions or just share a little bit about what you learned, or share a little bit about your experiences working with people who are from other cultures. So, and then please stick around for our regular MSBC meeting after this panel discussion from 2 to 3. We will take a 5-minute break in between, but from 2 to 3, we'll have our Connecting the Dots portion of our regular MSBC meeting, where we'll hear from all of you and what is going on in your world, breastfeeding and professional-wise. So I'd like to thank our panelists for being here today and being open to sharing their experiences and teaching us about the culture or cultures they've experienced and been a part of. We greatly appreciate their valuable time and their courage to share what might be difficult sometimes. And this is just a reminder that we're all here to be judgment-free and compassionate with each other, and to improve our own practices and reduce our potential biases. And also, there are as many perspectives and experiences as there are individuals. So remember that our panelists today don't and cannot represent all people from the cultures they're from. Our panelists are experts in their own experiences. Ibram X. Kendi defines culture in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist. I'm not sure if anyone has read that or reading that now, but he defines culture as a group tradition that a particular racial group might share, but that is not shared among all individuals in that racial group or among all racial groups. He also says that to be an anti-racist is to see cultures in their differences as on the same level, as equals. When we see cultural difference, we are seeing cultural difference, nothing more, nothing less. And that the act of making a cultural standard and hierarchy is what creates cultural racism. So we ask that you be intentional not to view the American culture as the standard at the top of the hierarchy, that we're intentional not to compare other cultures to American as if they are inferior. That is cultural racism. So I think that can be really helpful just to have a good understanding of that. And now we'd like to hear from our panelists. So they'll each take a couple of minutes to introduce themselves, a bit about their families and their work, and then I'll go forward with some other questions. I see that we have two of our panelists. I'm not sure if Hebo has been able to join us. I did receive a message from one of our panelists that she is working with someone who is having some urgent needs right now. So she may not be able to join us, but I'm wondering, Hebo, are you on? And if so, would you like to unmute yourself and go first? And I will just check to see if I receive, okay. All right, so she's trying to get in. I'm going to resend the info while Milka, would you like to go first and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Milka, and I'm from Angola. I'm married. I'm 34 years old, and I have two kids. I have a 6-year-old boy, and I have a girl who turns just 1. And yes, I'm still breastfeeding. I moved to the United States in the middle of 2018. I came right away to Maine. I live in Portland. I live in downtown Portland, and I love live here. It's very safe, and I had the opportunity to meet very nice people here. So I work for Portland Public Schools as an ed tech, and I also work as a Portuguese interpreter. So this is what I do, and this is what Milka is. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Milka. And I'm seeing our other panelists are just joining back in. There may have been some technical difficulties, but I think they're here now. Okay, I see Hebo. Hi, Hebo. Can you hear us? Okay, Francine, are you there? Okay, let's take a moment to just make sure we're getting all of our technology all set. So I'm gonna let some people in and also share a different screen on my end. Just wanna share this map for people to take a look at when we see where folks are from on the panel. Francine, hi. Can you hear me?
Hi, I'm back. I got a problem with the connection of my phone.
Okay, I can hear you and see you. We can hear you and see you just fine right now. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Francine Mkamuyango. I'm a mother of 2 kids, a boy and a girl, twins. I'm coming from Rwanda. Now it's 3 years that I'm here in America. I work for a week as a breastfeeding peer counselor. I'm here to share my culture breastfeeding with you today.
Awesome, thank you, Francine. And I had to turn my volume up a little bit more to hear you a little bit better. So I don't know if other people are having any challenges or not, but maybe getting a little closer to your microphone might help for the next part. Now, is Hebo there? Are you still with us, Hebo?
Yes, I am.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Hibo Omar. I am originally from, born in Ethiopia and then raised as a Somali. So I kind of encountered that and mostly lived most of my life in the United States. I'm a mother of 4. An interpreter, a caseworker, a jack of all trades. I live in Auburn, and now I'm an epidemiologist for COVID.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Hebo. Thank you all for being here. So we've come up with some questions together that we thought might be helpful for everyone to hear some thoughts on from your perspectives. And the first one is just to tell us about breastfeeding in your family culture or your culture of birth. So what is the popular practice? Do most people breastfeed? How often is formula used? How is breastfeeding and infant parenting in your family culture the same or different than in America? And what kind of experience with breastfeeding in your country of origin versus here in America or the families that you work with? So there's a lot of questions in there, but the generic overall question is that we'd love to hear a little bit more about breastfeeding in your culture of birth or your family culture. So I'm going to go first to Milka.
Well, I want to share with you guys that in my family, breastfeeding is something very natural. We have no questions about breastfeeding at all. All my sisters, all my cousins, my aunts did it. We all breastfeed, and it's something that we don't even think about. We don't think about. It's so natural that we don't think about that. When you give a birth to a child, can you hear me? You guys are hearing me? Thank you. When you give a birth to a child, and the first 3-4 months, your mom or your grandma moves to your house or vice versa to help you with the first days, the first showers, and how to position the baby, how to hold the baby, and all this process. For 3-4 months, your mom and your grandmom or your aunt will do that. And we'll show you the tricks, give you tips, how to have more milk, and how to dress the baby, undress the baby, all these tips that you need because you're a new mom and you're, struggling with all this process. So, of course, change diapers, how to change the diapers. So all this process is so new for new moms that your mom, someone who has more experience, normally go to your house or you go to your mom's house so that she can help you with that. So, but in Angola, I just can tell you about my family, what happened in my family. Everyone breastfeeds. Is not something that we discuss with, oh, you're going to breastfeed or not. No, this is not a discussion. We just breastfeed. It's natural for us.
Okay, thank you, Milka. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see, Francine, you're up next. Can you tell us a bit about the popular practice and if people breastfeed, if they formula feed, how is that all balanced? What are some experiences you've had? How are they the same or different than breastfeeding experiences you've had or you've witnessed in America? What would you like to share?
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
What I would like to share from my country is like the same as Milka, but in my country, breastfeeding is something important. Everyone, we grow up think that our siblings, our family members, when they had a baby, we know that they have to breastfeed the baby, and the people in our country, they are always there to help you. To have somebody around you to help you.
Oh, I think Francine froze up. Okay, we'll have to pause here on hearing more from Francine. Unless I'm the only one that can't hear her. No, okay. All right, Hebo, would you like to share?
Yes, in In my culture, mostly the normality used to be, yeah, it's like Milka said, it was something that everybody did. But for many of us, what happened was people left the country. I remember growing up that my mom had her mom supporting her, and then her aunt, her siblings will come over. The first 40 days, the neighbors, everyone will send food. They will support her in many ways. But then when I came to the United States and had my first child, it was totally different. That community was not there. I was in a place where I did not know many people. It was just the nuclear family, so to speak, like American lifestyle. You know, it's your husband and you're stuck. But then having many around me were would say it's easier because, you know, to have the bottle fed, because then you can leave it with anyone. You can have so many options, whereas if you start breastfeeding, then you won't find someone who will kind of keep the child for you. So even though I had that in my mind, that my mom had a different situation, mine was I have to go back to work in 6 weeks. So what am I supposed to do? And then luckily, you know, it's one of those things that you either want to do it or not, you know, but religiously and culturally also that was intermingled. You have to breastfeed the child for 2 years. That's a must. But many kind of, because of flexibility, kind of overlook. But at least, you know, it's really, and the struggle of it, it's really hard to have that balance, and it's finding that balance. But yeah, mostly, you know, people are going away from breastfeeding and then to the formulas.
So most people, can you clarify that last point? Most people here in America are going away from breastfeeding towards formula, or in the countries where you're
in my country as well. I went there 2018, and I was surprised that people were buying formula like you know, like a ration, so to speak. And I said, what's going on? What happened? But then, you know, for my brother's wives were buying it, you know, even before they had the baby. And I was surprised. I said, I battled this in the United States because at the end, I was kind of, you know, I have to self-advocate that I will breastfeed my children, but then every chance that I get, I will tell people the benefit of it and all the good things. And, you know, but then going back home and seeing younger families, moms buying milk to kind of have it when she had the baby. And I was surprised, you know, that took me as a surprise. But yeah, the struggle now, the easy way, or a way, if you want to leave the home, no one can babysit a child who's breastfed, because, you know, they won't take the other milk, so to speak. So it's a struggle for someone to kind of even sign up for that. I hope I clarified.
Yes, you did. Thank you. And it sounds like, so my follow-up question is going to be, why do you think that is? Why do you think that's changed? And Ethiopia, I think, is where you're speaking about, right?
Yes, yes.
And do you have any guesses, or what is your perspective on why that has changed? I mean, you shared a little bit now that people feel like it's easier to use bottles and use formula so they can have that time away from their baby. And I think many of us on the call here can definitely understand that. You referred to going back to work, and I think is that the case? Is that what you're seeing happening back home as well?
In many cases back home, they don't have the responsibility, you know, the work responsibility. They are at home, homestay moms, but, you know, and there are programs like kind of a weak program back in Africa where they advertise, they have, you know, breastfeeding is the best and so many things that, you know, it's like putting light on it, but many younger youth are choosing not to because it's the popular choice, so to speak. It's a choice, so people tend to kind of lean to the popular choice. And in the hindsight, losing the purpose and, you know, all the good thing behind it, and, you know, but that's the popular, but that's what I think.
Thank you. Just a reminder to everyone who's on the call, if you have questions that are coming up for you as you're hearing from everyone, please type them in the chat box and we'll keep track of them. Be sure to make sure they're asked at some point before 2 o'clock today. So I want to go back to Francine. We know that there were technical challenges. Would you like to pick up where you left off before? Oh no.
Yeah, I got a problem with the connection. I'm very sorry for that. Can you hear me now? Well,
so far, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was also talking about the culture of breastfeeding from my country, from where I come from. I was saying that it is something very important in my country, that breastfeeding the baby. We got many tips from our parents, from our siblings, that breastfeeding the baby is the first beautiful thing you can give to your kids, that they can grow up very well without being sick. It helps the kids to not be sick. There is no one who is shy to breastfeeding his baby, even in public place. When your kids want to be breastfeeded, you have to do that. The difference from my country in America is that people are busy. You don't have anyone to help you as well. People are living very, very far to reach you, to come help you. But in our country, anyone is around you to help you. So that's why I think here the people use formula than breastfeeding, because it is easy for them.
Excellent, thank you. I see Pauline has raised her hand. Thank you for taking advantage of that option. Do you have a question you would like to ask out loud? Or comment?
No. I would like to add, because I'm also from Africa. So can you hear me?
Yes. Can you share what country in Africa you're from?
I am from Democratic Republic of the Congo. So I was fortunate also to work in different places in the Congo and Africa and other parts of the world. So I kind of see how other women do with breastfeeding at the first month or first years of the infant and children. So in the Congo, most of the people living in the countryside, like when they have their babies, especially for the first mothers, they have the baby belong to the whole village. So they will teach, mom can stay 3 months. For 3 months, mom and baby stay inside the home without, baby will not be out. And mom is being taught how to fed the infant. And then also they will teach her how to eat good food, to have milk, to increase milk. And the first day, if mom doesn't have milk, other mothers will help, to breastfeed the babies, the infant, or give sugarcane juice they give to infants. So that's how in the village they do. So mom will not even touch the baby except for breastfeed for 3 months or 2 months. Other women will wash the baby, do massage, do almost everything, cook food. Other villager comes with food. So mom takes really enough rest, and then she's also away from the husband. So they really take enough rest, to take care of the baby and to breastfeed. And they can breastfeed for as long, like it can take a year or 2 years, depending on each mother. And then when they go to, when they start going to their farmer, how do we say that? Like if they go to do to farm, like farming or leave the baby behind, other women they feed in the village will breastfeed the babies. So they make turn, or they bring infants to where they work, agriculture or farm. So this is in the village, what I've seen, like working there as a missionary. So in the cities, depending for women who do not work, they also get the same help with families or neighbor. And then if they do work, what I've seen, people now, most of the people, they don't know that they can save the breast milk. So what they do, they use formula for most of the time. They, like working mother, they use, like I grew up with my mom, all the children, they had both breastfeeding and formula because she was working. So that's what most women in the cities, they do. They mix. And then also, but they receive enough help from their mom or neighbor or their sisters. They come and help with washing baby or taking care of the baby. And also like providing good food, like cooking for mom to increase milk. So like here, it's like most women from my country, they complain about that some even they do cry. They say, it's my first time to have baby and have nobody to help me. And also I'm not finding food that I was taught to eat to have enough milk. It's my first experience not to have enough milk with food that I'm eating here. So that's also a big issue with mom here, that they don't have enough support and they don't have enough the right food to eat to get there, to increase milk. So that was a little bit my experience, what I experienced back home with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and Milka, I've been seeing you nod your head a lot, and I want to hear from you. I also want to mention, one of our questions was, who is usually there to help moms in your countries after she has a baby? How do they help, and how long are they around to help? So I'd love to hear if there's more to share about that from our panelists or anyone else on the call who wants to share more. And I think you shared a number of things like caring for the baby, bathing the baby, cooking for mom. And I'm just thinking so much about the postpartum doulas in our world here, and how I just want to say yay to postpartum doulas.
Yeah.
We all wish that they were more available, more accessible. I think that there are more postpartum doulas and more accessible to everyone, even or if family can't be available as well. But Milka, please.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of similarities between Congo and Angola. I was hearing Pauline and seeing a lot of similar things that happen in Angola and happen in Congo. So your baby is not your baby when you give a birth. It's everybody's baby, like the baby of the family. So your mom, your grandma, your aunts, they have the duty to help you. And one of the things that I want to point out that is very helpful is the maternity leaving time. So in Angola, the maternity leaving time is 3 months. And if you're working, you can ask your company for a month without any payment. So 3 months plus 1 month without the payment. So 4 months is the time you have to take care of your baby. So during this time, most of your family will help you, your neighbors, everyone will help you to deal with the newcomer and to teach you. And another thing that I want to point out that Pauline told already mentioned is about the food. When women are struggling with milk, we have a specific foods based on certain plants, certain herbs that grandmas and the elders know very well, and that you can take, and those ones increase the amount of milk. So yes, I had my first son in Angola. I experienced all that, and I was surrounded of family and all the support. It was not the same when I moved to the United States. I had my baby here, so no family, no support. I had the support, of course, the weak support and stuff, but it's not the same. I had another kind of support, and I have no one to cook for me. I have no one to share with me the experiences. So it's different. And I understand why people are more willing to go to formula right now because of, the maternity leaving time. 6 weeks is not enough. It's different from my country. So in 6 weeks, you cannot just continue to breastfeed without, struggling if you don't have family here. Yeah, this is what I want to point out. The maternal leaving time, it helps also so the mothers can continue to breastfeed their kids.
Absolutely. There's a lot of research behind that too. A lot of reasons to be encouraging more paid leave in our country and our state. And I mean, the State Breastfeeding Coalition is working toward improving that here as well. So it's really helpful to see the differences, to hear people's perspectives and experiences and the differences there. So I see a question from Anna that is good, well-timed. What are commonly considered the milk promoting foods among women from the Congo and from any of the countries where people might be able to speak to that? So for any of the panelists, what are some specific foods that are promoted to help encourage milk production?
Well, there's some soups based on plants, and we use, in Angola, I'm talking about Angola, we use yuca a lot. There's a specific dried fish that we made a soup, and this soup and the yuca, they promote the milk, so they increase the milk.
Excellent.
Thanks. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Hibo.
No, that's fine. What is it? This is the borrowed, I guess, in Ethiopia, and mostly when one thing that is used is barley flour, in making it in different ways, either like softening it to drink, and then either making it like fufu, making it hard so that the mother can dip it with either honey or something else. But the base is barley flour that's warmed up prior to cooking it.
Yeah.
Pauline?
There are a lot of food that I don't know because, like in the countryside, they use a lot of herbs and spices. But the one that I've seen, like in the countryside, sometimes people use palm tree wine. It's like wine coming from palm tree. They also give to women, and sometimes they also give to babies if mom doesn't have enough milk. And they have like yuca and cassava leaves. We have cassava leaves here, but they are not fresh, and they are very expensive for families. Like if they receive wake and they have $9 for vegetable, just cassava leaves itself is like $7. So you have to cook it, and then there are many things that you have to add so that you can like make it for new mom, and then like palm oil juice. it does cost us a lot of money. So all this stuff, we can find some here, but they are really expensive for newcomers to afford that. Even for people who work, they are really expensive food. Like imported food are very expensive. And what else? Some I don't know how to translate the names. Like I don't have like English words to say other food that I know because we don't have it here.
Okay, thank you. Francine, I
Yeah.
think you started to speak and then we
Yeah,
can go over to Lillian.
okay, I also have something to add on that. Many of foods, like what Pauline said, cassava leaves, is also in my country we use that, but the things we do is just to eat healthy food, veggies, a lot of veggies, things, soft things, drinking a lot. That's what we do because anyone, it's not everyone who can get those cassava leaves and put all the things we have to put it inside, but eating a lot of fruits, drinking a lot of water, milk, it helps you to get enough breastfeed milk.
Yes. And fresh peanuts also. We use a lot of fresh peanuts. And this is one of the other difference between Angola and here, is that we can find easily fresh cassava leaves, fresh peanuts, fresh palm oil, and it's a little bit different from here. We can find that on stores, but frozen, it's not the same. It's not the same.
Lillian, you have something to add?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So I would like to just give my own experience. As you said, cultures are different and how we do things are totally different. Africa is very big and there are very many ethnic groups that do things differently. So like in my community, I grew up in like both a primitive community and I grew in also in a civilized community. So I learned all these things from both the primitive community where I was and also in a civilized community. So where I come from in my village, when a girl gets married, you are supposed to stay with your mother-in-law for 1 year or until you give birth to your first child. When you live with your mother-in-law has to teach you all those things, how to raise a family, how to take care of a child and everything. When you get pregnant, it's your mother-in-law who will guide you all, including your mom. And they will cultivate for you a field, harvest for you when you get your first harvest and you get your first child. And the child has to stay with them for almost a year before you move into your own house. By that time, they already know that you are capable of taking care of your child, you're capable of going to the field and doing all activities by yourself. And when a lady gives birth, usually, the mothers usually use hot water because there they said if you don't bathe with hot water, it's there's some side effects. They think like you'll get tetanus because we don't have tetanus injections there. And the only thing is like you have to bathe with hot water to like, let me say, refresh your muscles or something like that. So, and bathing with hot water will be like it will take you 3 weeks to 6 weeks. After the 6 weeks, they know you're already strong and there will be no any health problem that you'll be having after the 6 weeks. And there are some people who naturally don't have breast milk. They will try for 2, 3, 4, or a week, but the breast milk will be very little. So there are types of food in my community that people use. We have the millet flour. So the millet flour is made with some milk, and the mom usually has to drink the porridge. So you drink this porridge, and it's like stimulates you to get more milk. And we also use peanut butter. The peanut butter you have to cook with some vegetables, some leaves. There are a variety of vegetables that you have to cook with this peanut butter, and you have to make, anyway, Kiswahili call it fufu, but I don't know how it's called in English. So you have to eat with it, and that one also helps a lot, brings a lot of milk for somebody who has struggled with getting breast milk. And also soup, you have to like drink a lot of soup, warm soup. So yes, that's what mostly people use in the primitive, in the villages. And if somebody really has a struggle with getting breast milk, I come from a community where people like rear goats, sheep, and cows. So the family will be milking, maybe if there's a goat that has delivered and has milk, they will be milking the milk and give to the baby. And mainly they use goat milk, which is better. They said goat milk is better than cow's milk when they're giving to an infant who is still like some few weeks old. But they don't give a lot, they just give little. And the mom has to continue like giving the breast milk, saying so that the breast will start like producing some milk. But like in the cities where people are now introduced to formula, and the lifestyle is different from the one in the villages, people have shifted from those practices that people do in the villages, because they learn new things and they think it's the easy way to do it, and it's maybe cheaper, time, it can save them time. So there are few who will breastfeed the baby until 1 year or 2 years old. But at least, I lived in cities also in Africa, but most people will breastfeed the baby at least to 6 months. To 6 months. If that's really a mom who has a struggle with breast milk, getting breast milk, the mom will start introducing the baby to formula maybe when the baby is 1 day or 2 days old. She will be supplementing. But in most cases, my people breastfeed their kids until 2 years old, or until they get pregnant and the other child is coming. That's when they will stop.
Lillian, did you hear which country you're from? Which country
I'm from South Sudan.
I'm sorry, South Sudan?
Yes, South Sudan.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like we could continue this for a whole other hour, and we have about 10 to 12 minutes left to hear from our panelists more about one topic in particular that I really want to hear more from. I want to hear more about is specific to your experience, or to mother's experience in the hospital or here in the United States. And in the first few days, there are staff members in the hospital who often hear or will say, well, you know, for cultural reasons, this mom doesn't want to breastfeed in the first few days, or for cultural reasons, she just wants to use formula. for cultural reasons, she doesn't want to have any hands-on help. So I would love to hear from you more about, what would be good to clarify. What assumptions have you heard? What can you tell us about the people that you know in your culture? Do they like to have hands-on help or best to be hands-off? Do most people prefer using a formula in the first few days and then start to just breastfeed exclusively after that? And I'll maybe speak a little bit about sleep too. Where do babies usually sleep in the first few months after birth? What would be really helpful for the folks on the call today who are working with families every day and in those early days too about breastfeeding? So let me go to, I'm seeing Hebo first. Hebo, do you have something to share here?
Yes, one of the thing for people who left their family behind, and for the first time, it's really, I always say that's the critical time, because in my experience, when I first had my baby, I was in a 50-50 zone, meaning I didn't, should I choose what my friends and family here in America are telling me, or should I listen to the first woman who sparkled my curiosity? Because for some people, even holding the child was a journey, so to speak. Because I've never, held a child that small. But luckily, every person is different, and knowing the comfort of the person. For me, I have to, beg her and say, I feel like he was falling off of me. But then, when she prepped me and how holding the hand and how, to hold his head as well was very important, because that was a scary moment, because I didn't have that, my mom or my grandma or my sister wasn't around. But it's very important for people who come into the room to kind of see where this person is, and also have that conversation, because even if they don't want, then it creates a curiosity of deciding, telling them the benefit. Because I wasn't in school, I was, I was very young, but then I was so curious of the things that she told me about when she came, that it will be, it's good for my child, scientifically it's proven, people are doing this. That was stuck in my head until I literally read the literature saying that. So it's really important for that moment, but some people, as you said, yes, culture is labeled in a sense on everything to kind of not to do the groundwork. That's what I believe, because all our 5 fingers are not the same size, and people are not all the same, and their behavior will not be, we cannot categorize. So when you meet that person, you have to see their comfort level at that moment and at that time. And please, for those of you who help, I always, I'm thankful for that one person in the hospital who sparkled my curiosity, and I'm in debt for her forever.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Hebo. Francine, do you have anything you'd like to share, add to that?
Yeah, on that, I would say that hands-on, I like that, because it's when it is your first time, you need someone to show you how to take the baby, what is the good position to breastfeed. Sometimes you have a C-section, so it hurts you. You need that hand to help you to be with you, so that it can help you have something to show you. You have someone to show you, to give you the baby, to help you. And you also asked about where the baby is sleeping for the first days. In my country, the baby is sleeping in the same room with mom, because the first few months you are not even sleeping with your husband, because the baby is crying and your husband have to go to work, so the baby have to be near you, so you can feel your baby if baby is crying, and you have to breastfeed her or him. So the baby is sleeping always with the mom in the same room, but not in the same bed in the crib, but in the same room.
Okay. Milka, I was seeing you nod your head a bit to some of those things. What would you like to add?
So yes, because so many things are similar. Definitely hands-on, especially to new moms, because you heard about our culture. We have a lot of people around us when we deliver a baby. So if someone moves to US and this is the first pregnancy, this is the first baby, she's lost. She doesn't know what to do, because we rely on our family to help us to do the first steps, to help us with the first step. For 3-4 months, you depend on your mom or your grandmom to teach you. So if you move to the United States, you lost. So the most help you have, will be very, very helpful, hands-on. And yes, in my country also, the baby sleeps in the same room as the mom, because normally you have your mom by your side, so she teaches you how to position the baby, how a baby has to sleep, and your husband is never there because he has to work, and there's the time that you cannot have with your husband by yourself. So those 3-4 months you by yourself with the baby, just taking care of the most important thing, which is the baby. And something that I want to add about breastfeeding that my mom teach me, it's not just about the healthier thing to do, it's about the connection you have with the baby. The connection that you have with the baby when you're breastfeeding, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's a unique connection. Your baby starts to know you as a mom, the way the baby looks at you, the way she points at you is so unique. So I'll definitely encourage people to breastfeed. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Thank you. So we have just a few minutes left, and I know Pauline has raised her hand. I definitely want to hear from you, Pauline. But first, I want to mention, if anyone has anything that they would like to add or any questions, please use that great hand raising button if you can find that in your toolbar there, or type something into the chat box so we know, even if it's just sharing a little bit about your experience or adding a question, and maybe we'll go a couple minutes over 2 o'clock because this is such a great conversation. Pauline, what would you like to share?
I would like, first of all, like in the hospital, I have to face the camera. Like in the hospital, I've seen a lot, like I've assisted with a lot of mothers. I deliver, like help interpreting with mother who deliver for the first time or not the first time. Like what mom usually said, like, oh, nurses, why they are just bringing us some dry food, and when you ask for tea, they bring you like cold tea already. Tea is very cold and small, because in Africa, when they make tea for new mom, it's really a lot and hot, and they tell them to drink when it's still hot. So, and then eat no dry food. So they complain about that. And hands on or hands off, like it's just a habit, like depending how that mom, even it's her first time becoming mom or second time or multiple mother, is depending how she gets help when she has other kids. Because I remember my mom always having, if there is nobody around, my grandma in the village would send I can say another lady from the village to come to the city to help my mom. She had always somebody to take care of babies. Like in the morning, she'll wake up, go to work, and that woman will wash the baby and then like start giving bottle the time my mom is not there. It's just like the habit. Like when you have your babies, like they say, in my culture, there is a say this, they usually say, if you wash your baby, you will not see how big the baby is becoming. So let other people wash your baby and you can experience your baby like becoming, like gaining weight. You can see, you can tell if you wash your baby every day. So that's why other people, they do wash your baby. So it's like, I don't know, it's just a say that others should wash your baby and then like bring your baby when it's time to feed the baby. So, and then now the world is becoming so like a village, like now, especially young mothers now, they think that not breastfeeding your baby, you become like, I don't know, a modern mom. So like those young women who don't want to feed their baby, it's like they think that they become like, I don't know, I don't know how to qualify it their way. Or nowadays you don't have to breastfeed your baby for months or for a year. 2 months, 1 month is enough. So that's one thing also now young mothers are developing. I don't know why, but it's happening. And then like they need also to breastfeed for a long time. It was like as comfort, like to get connection with your children. But in Africa, infants start eating very early. Like at 2-3 months already, they start giving cereal. So like even when they breastfeed, even when they don't have enough supply, baby is already full from cereal at 3 months, so they can sleep. Now here, most of women, like mothers, they will say here, like at work, my experience with work program, they say they only give food at 6 months. That's too long because I don't have like, even with my supply, baby is not sleeping. Baby needs like heavy food. So that's why they start now asking for formula so that they can feed baby and then let baby sleep. Because in Africa at 3 months, 2 months, they start already giving food. My mom told me that she started giving me rice. I was 3 months. I was like, what? She said, yes, I'll put soft rice and feed you. I was surprised. That's what they do. They give food at early, like 2-3 months, they start already feeding solid, like baby solid food. That's what it helps mom, even when they breastfeed, baby is already full. They don't need formula. So this is about that. And then sleeping, even here when we ask mother, I always laugh because when a provider asks mom where the baby sleep, they always answer in the crib. And then they look at me, they say, you know what? I sleep with my baby. I say, why? I usually like, even since Africa, it's easy when you want to breastfeed, they are next to you. And that's, some they lie, they give you an answer that they sleep in the crib, but the baby sleep with them. Because in Africa, like even when they have a crib, it's maybe at daytime. But at night, mom sleep with the baby so that easy when the baby wakes up, they feed the baby. And then in the village, they don't have crib. So mom sleeps with the infant in the same bed. So it's just a habit that here they say, I will not like, they will not, no accident because I used to. So that's about the crib, what I wanted to add.
Thank you so much, Pauline, for adding to that. Maybe a few more minutes if there are any other thoughts from our panelists, Francine, Milka, Hebo, and anyone else on the call that wants to just share any final thoughts on this topic, and maybe even specific to what support or education do you see, would you like to see those of us on the call, professionals, the Maine State Breastfeeding Coalition, like what would you like to see us doing to maybe make this experience a little bit better? You've mentioned lack of food sources, lack of support in general. Are there specific education topics or ways that we can be offering some different education? What do you think? And I think we'll wrap up and we'll give this maybe 3 minutes and then we'll take a 5-minute break and come back for our connecting the dots portion of the meeting.
I don't really have a specific idea of how you guys have to do it, but those meetings at least are a way that you guys may understand how the cultural difference can impact on moms, and now take actions of how, you know, how to help the new moms to deal with a very special phase of the life, which is being a mom. And yes, understand the cultural difference will help you. You guys that have this responsibility to help the moms to understand what the moms are struggling with and the ways you guys can help. Maybe providing, like we can provide the checks to buy cassava leaves, for example, this, which is something that we use to increase the milk, to buy yuca and things like that. And what else? And be able to talk with the new moms and, you know, be willing to help. I know that there's a doula program also that help moms, and I had a doula. She helped me a lot. So, so spread the word that you can have a doula, you can have someone to help you. Spread this word and show what your programs can do to help those moms. Definitely, yeah.
Thank you, Milka. Anything else from Francine or Hebo or anyone else on the call?
Yeah, I just want to add that even when the young moms, you think that they're not listening, at least giving them the advice and the support and not giving up on them. Because you know, it's that line where they have neither you know, a memory of their childhood, or you know, or the popular culture is kind of overtaking them, but you know, so that they can have a sparkle, the importance of the connection that the child will have with mom, and you know, all the good things that is proven as well, you know. But yeah, that's what I will add.
Thank you, Hebo. Thank you to our panelists and for others who joined in. Pauline, looks like you have one last thought to share. I see your hand up.
Yes, I was like, we will continue. It's good to continue to educate, or maybe they know, not really to educate, but to support them, like letting mom that your milk is very, very, very good, important with for your baby. And then I'm doing it now that I'm a nutrition counselor. So at the hospital, I don't have much to say because we do our work, we can add. But here now I have the opportunity like to tell them like the benefits of breastfeeding. And also even when like they knew, like when they have their baby, the first day, even there is no, like mom, like see that there is nothing coming, but at least the first drop is really very important for infants. So it's like just teaching them to know that it's very important. Sometimes they laugh if I tell them that you see a cow seeking for your milk for their infant, and then they laugh. I say yours is very, very good. So like to encourage them, I think they just need to be encouraged. Some I know, like they will say, with work, I have to go back to work. I know one mom told me when they provide, they ask, will you breastfeed? With a big no. I was surprised. I said, why? She said her brother already, his brother already nursed for him. I said, why? Because he didn't want to eat any other food than my milk for a year. So I was like unable to go back to work. This one will not taste breast milk because I have to go to work after 6 weeks. So she said, because of my work, I will not try again with the second one. So it's like the environment is not easy, but we still have to encourage them. And for food also, I know it's not easy, because many moms will ask me, can you remove cheese, cereal, and give me vegetable? So I say we can trade. We can change cheese or cereal with vegetable. So food that we give them are important, but some food or for some people, they are not familiar to that. So it does help, but some food really, they don't eat it. So they request for other food that we don't provide, especially family who do not work. So it's
Thank you for being in the role that you are to work with these families. For all of you on the call who are working directly with any family, thank you for all the work that you're doing. And thank you again to the panelists. Let's take 5 minutes. Hopefully you can all stay on the phone or on this call for our connecting the dots portion of the meeting. What I'm going to do is share my screen so you can see the questions that we usually do for our connecting the dots. Just bear with me here. And you can be thinking about that while we take a stretch break and come back at 2:15. Okay, let me just get that up here. Where did you go? I think that's you. All right, can you all see the connecting the dots questions that we tend to discuss? Okay, and then I think we can talk more about what we've learned today as well. So I'm going to mute myself and turn off my camera while I go do some stretches and use the bathroom. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Thanks for staying on for this portion of the meeting, the connecting the dots portion. Hopefully you can all see the questions that we tend to answer during this time and share a little bit about. It would be fabulous if people could have their cameras on for this part of the meeting, since this is a big part of our meeting where we really get to know each other and get to know what work is being done around the state and beyond. So if you have the ability and the comfort with putting your camera on, that would be fantastic. And usually when we are doing this in person, we are all around a table and we kind of can go in order that way. I think what we'll do today is we'll do, if you can locate your raising your hand button, that seemed to work out well earlier. Let me just see if I can even find it on your panel. If not, you can type into the chat box if you have something you want to say or share. But this is really a very interactive part of the meeting. And maybe we could even start with sharing any thoughts about the panel discussion earlier. Is there anything that you learned from that discussion? Anything that might help change your practice at all? What experiences have you had working with people from other cultures that you think would be helpful to share with anyone? Anything that you've learned. So I'm going to put that out there, and with discussions like this, we might have some uncomfortable silences, but that is going to encourage you to share. Okay. And I may actually go first too. I'm just thinking to transition from the last discussion. Paid leave came up a number of times, and I mentioned the Maine State Breastfeeding Coalition is working on that however we can, advocating for that, encouraging people to learn more about that. So Brooke, I see you turned your camera on, so I don't know if you have any updates you can share with us. I believe there's a special session that might be coming up at some point. I don't know if there's a date for that yet or not, but would you be comfortable sharing an update on that? And before that, what I was going to say earlier too is if you're not on our email list already, please type your email, and you would like to be, please type your email into the chat box and we'll be sure to add you to our email list. That's how we communicate to people what advocacy opportunities are available for you, specific to anything related to breastfeeding or supporting parents. So if you don't already get our emails, please type that into the chat box if you'd like to. And Brooke, would you like to?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So as many of you know, Speaker Sarah Gideon had introduced a bill last year, LD 1410, and that would be a bill to create a universal paid family leave program in Maine, to use both for parental leave as well as personal health care leave, caring for a sick or aging family member. And we have built a really wonderful, strong, diverse coalition of supporters. But unfortunately, that support was not reflected in such a diverse way in the legislature. And what I mean when I say that is that at this point, it was only supported by Democrats, which was disappointing because I think there's lots of reasons that more conservative people, people on both sides of the aisle should support paid family leave. So at this point, the bill did pass through the legislature with some significant changes. At this point, it is no longer creating a program of 12 or 16 weeks of parental or family leave as was the original intention, but instead is creating a commission to look into what kind of program would work best for Maine, how the funding would work, how all the nuts and bolts of implementation would work. So really laying the groundwork for perhaps in a year or 2 years, creating a policy that can get a lot more broad support, both from the community, which we know is already out there, but specifically from the legislature. At this point, there was a second effort to bring the legislature back into session. And the way that works is there's a poll that goes out to all legislators, and the majority of each party has to vote to agree to come back into session. And as you might know, the legislature adjourned on March 17th due to COVID, and so that's why they haven't been in session until now. So to come back in, the majority of both parties had to agree, and unfortunately, the Republicans did not agree to even participate in the poll. So with the exception, I think 6 Republicans participated and several dozens did not. So at this point, there will not be a session in August. That's still a possibility that the governor could call the whole legislature back. So that is one possibility. But barring that, the House and Senate leadership has now tried twice to bring the whole legislature back in without success. So if the governor does bring the legislature back in, then there will be an opportunity to advance the Family Leave Commission. And if not, unfortunately, it's going to be something that we have to push until the next legislature, which will be beginning in December.
Excellent. Thank you for that update, Brooke. What other updates are there? So Kelly, I'm seeing you ask if I can unshare the screen so you can see each other. Are you not able to still see people? First of all, I don't think we only have a couple people cameras showing, and that might be why you're not able to see anyone. But what I can do is copy and paste the questions into the chat box so that there is more space to see everyone. And you can refer back to that, and I'm happy to stop sharing my screen. I don't know if that makes any difference there. What other updates are there around this day? What kind of, is anyone doing anything special for World Breastfeeding Week or National Breastfeeding Month? You can expect to see some more posts from the Maine State Breastfeeding Coalition about National Breastfeeding Month, and that there are other weeks. There's Native American Breastfeeding Week, there is Black Breastfeeding Week, and there is another week that I don't have off the top of my head, but we will be posting some more things to share information and allow other voices to be heard, the topic of breastfeeding. I'm also going to put a link into the chat box about a program called Maine Mom. Oops, I did not, I have to recopy that. In the Maine maternal opioid model is the link that I'm going to put in there, and that talks about the Maine Mom program that is new, just started this past January, and the idea is to be offering extra support and treatment for mothers who are in recovery, specific to opioid use disorder. And they are talking a lot about prenatal education and postpartum education and integrating different services and treatment models. So this is good for all of you to know about. I'm sure you'll be hearing more about it. Kelly, I don't know if you have anything to add there, or if there's anything that you'd like to update on the perinatal outreach program side.
Yeah, I think for the mom model, they are in their planning year. So if people have suggestions and ideas, right now they're just gathering ideas about what would be an ideal system of care for women who are in recovery and pregnant. Their goal is really around one-stop visits so that ideally moms go one place, they get their prenatal care, they get their addiction treatment, and then any other services that they need all in the same place, and continuing to encourage referrals to available resources like public health nursing and Maine Families and WIC. So I think that's like the overview, but if people have questions, right now there are, I think, 6 sites, Maine General, Maine Health, Mid-Coast, Northern Light, Penobscot Community Healthcare, and Pines Health Services, which is, I think it's Caribou, it might be Presque Isle, sorry. So it really is a broad statewide reach on this.
Excellent, thanks, Kelly. What else is going on? How is everyone managing during this pandemic and providing education and support to moms? Are you getting a lot of questions from families about coronavirus and about breastfeeding and the coronavirus? Or, you know, what are you seeing in your work as of late? What are some challenges you're having? Is there any resources you're looking for? Any resources you've come across that you want to share? You're also welcome to share like how you're managing as a human being or as a person during this time. And if you haven't already, I think there probably still is time to enter into the raffle or answer some questions about parenting in the pandemic. It's one of the things the coalition was looking to do, is to gather stories and maybe photos to be entered into the slideshow that will be presented during the celebration tomorrow. I entered a really cute photo of my kids and our puppy, and a photo of reality that is, in addition to the cuteness, there's also the reality of just balancing life right now and likely work from home. So I don't know, I think some of you are doing that as well, maybe balancing working from home, working from an office, dealing with childcare, maybe caring for other family members or your own parents. So please share either for the slideshow tomorrow or right now. I'd love to hear how everyone's doing in general. And I'm seeing Tina, do you want to unmute so you can share that? I'd love to hear another voice.
Hello.
Hi, Tina.
Hi. I was just saying that I really, normally during World Breastfeeding Week, I go out into our WIC clinics because we have our main offices, and then of course we reach out and we have clinics either at a school or churches sometime, different places. And so normally during this week, I try to visit a lot of the clinics that we have, and just, it's really fun. I do raffles and just kind of put, you know, names to faces and vice versa for them as well. So, because, you know, most of my work is done over the phone. So, so I'm talking to just as many moms as usual. I'm just not seeing them face to face like I normally do during this week. So I kind of missed that this year.
Thanks for sharing. Yeah, how are the families doing that you're working with? Are you noticing?
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I haven't heard, I mean, at the very beginning in March, when everything was really, you know, at the height of us realizing what was going on, it was a little more difficult. And I could kind of be a bridge between, even though the nutritionists are great and the WIC staff has been incredible the way they've been serving our families. It's nice that I've been able to, like every time there was a new food list that, like a substitution list that WIC would offer during the pandemic, I could make an extra text and just send that to all my moms. And, you know, so that was kind of nice that I could, but I kind of feel like people are just, the people that I'm talking to have just kind of accepted this is where we are and this is what's going on. And, oh, sorry, my daughter just started the vacuum, which is not a bad thing. But so, I mean, I'm not hearing a whole lot at this point, you know, of uncertainty, but maybe it's just because I'm not for whatever reason and there still is that going on. I don't know, but everyone seems to be coping really well that I've spoken with.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. How about for the other WIC peer counselors that I see on here? How are the families you're working with, and how is it from your perspective working with families in this different way? You're a little less face to face.
Oh, hello.
Hi. Is that Gina?
This is. Can you hear me?
A little choppy, but keep going.
This is Gina from Maine General WIC. I'm the peer counselor up there, and our moms, kind of like what Tina said, seem to be adjusting. I know that we have a lot of moms that have older kiddos too, so there's a lot of worry about what back to school is going to look like for them and their kids. And then we're also, most of us have young kids in our agency as well, so we're all stressing. And World Breastfeeding Week has just been kind of sad. We did some Facebook engagement posts, but we usually do a big latch on in at least 2 locations up our way. So we didn't do that this year, but pretty bummed about that. I think that's it.
Thanks, Gina. Kelly, I know that there is a safe sleep, like a cultural beliefs around safe sleep webinar coming up, and that would be good to share more if you have, not to put you on the spot right now, but if there's anything you can share about that or put into the chat box, since a lot of the people who are on the call now were part of that discussion earlier, there's an interest in better understanding the different cultures and their beliefs around parenting practices here.
Yeah, so ironically, I had, when I sketched out our webinars related to safe sleep, I had already planned to do something on diversity and safe sleep. It's an area that we really haven't addressed and people talk about when I'm working with healthcare providers, and they talk about working with families from different cultures and different knowledge and belief and practices around infant sleep. And so we are still working on finalizing the speakers, but we will have a variety of people from different cultures talking about what infant sleep practices are in their culture. So it is Tuesday, August 18th from 12 to 1, and Qualidime is hosting it. Qualidime used to be Maine Quality Counts. And yes, I will put a link in the chat box, and I can answer any questions if people have them.
Thanks, Kelly. So I'm noticing Tina's comment here. She wanted to mention that this is her 20th year homeschooling. So if anyone needs any help or guidance or has questions about that, feel free to contact her. Tina, could you put in your contact information in the chat box so people could reach out to you? That's really good to know. There are so many different ways to be doing education this school year, and it's good to know what all the resources are.
And Kara, it's Kelly again. The Maine Parent Federation has also had some webinars, and I don't remember if it's past or upcoming. There's one that Dr. Laura Blaisdell is going to be on and talking exactly about back to school issues. And Dr. Blaisdell is a pediatrician who has her master's in public health and has been working closely with the Maine CDC and others around summer camps, and now also around school reopenings. So she's a wealth of knowledge and very much trusted. And so I'll try and find that link and put that in the chat box too.
Awesome, thank you. I know there are a lot of school board meetings happening right now, making decisions on what their recommendations are and what their plans are. So it's a busy time of year, and it seems like it came up upon us so quickly. And Lindsay, I see your comment that you have a sleeping and nursing baby on your lap, so you don't want to turn your video or voice on. I get that, so I can read that. Lindsay from the Opportunity Alliance WIC in Cumberland County says, we have been doing a lot of phone and text support at WIC and are hoping to get our prenatal class running again virtually soon. Right now, WIC is collecting stories for World Breastfeeding Week, which have been great to read. And I also encourage them to share the MSBC for the event tomorrow. We're definitely missing out on face-to-face support, but are making it work. That's great to hear. And my role as a patient educator at Maine Medical Center, we've been doing our prenatal classes, excuse me, virtually since end of March, and the weekly breastfeeding group, and it's been going really well. I think there are definitely pros and cons. It is tough when it's like this, when they're like no one has their camera on and I'm just talking to a screen for a class. That for the breastfeeding group, everyone has their cameras on, but we can't always see the babies. And so in a breastfeeding group, usually you can see all the babies, you can see generally how old they are. Is that baby about the same age as mine or not? So it's, again, pros and cons. It certainly seems more accessible than having to drive and find parking and all of that. So that can be nice too. Certainly share that information with us. If we can help promote any groups or classes for you, let us know through the Breastfeeding Coalition. And in terms of the perinatal outreach program too, I think many of you know I do work with Kelly as the breastfeeding consultant, and one of the things that I do is create a newsletter. I'm going to share in my screen so you can see the last newsletter that I worked on. And if you don't recognize it, if you haven't seen it before, oh, that's not the one, sorry. That I think is the one that is the next one. So here we go. If you haven't seen a newsletter like this before, if you don't receive this, then please put your email in the chat box and we can add you to that email list. But the one that I sent out in July talked about prenatal education. I know that a lot of you are doing that work. It also talks about the work that MSBC is doing and the latest research on COVID virus and breast milk, and also resources in other languages. I think we have this information on our website too, most of that. I did a parent survey and a provider survey about prenatal education and asking them about their experiences and what they would like to see some help with. So we learned most common topics that parents appreciated learning about, and what they wish they'd learn more about. So how and when to pump, how to prevent and treat potential challenges, returning to work, normal baby behavior. And then they talked, if you could recommend providers do one thing when teaching new or expectant families about breastfeeding, what would it be? They talked about not vilifying formula, prioritizing mom's mental health, reducing pressure around breastfeeding, encouraging providers to remind moms to be patient. It's a learning process, and so on. And then again, with pumping, how to use their pump, returning to work, etc. And lots of other comments there too. I also include continuing education in the newsletters. I guess an update, the Best Connection Breastfeeding Conference was moved from May to September, and now it's going to be all virtual. If you haven't heard that, I can send more information about that. If you're looking for more, just leave a note in the chat box for me and I can know to send more info about that. And the Maine AAP conference is happening virtually as well. I think just September 26th now. I don't believe it's 2 days. So that's an example of a newsletter and some resources if you want a copy of that particular newsletter or want to be added to the email list, then like I said, please type it into the chat box. And I'm seeing now, was my screen not being shared just then? It was? Okay. It says, so I'm stopping the screen sharing now. All right. What else? We've got 20 minutes to chat if we'd like. We could certainly wrap up early if we need to, but I know there's more going on out there in the world. Kelly's entering info about the Qualidime Safe Sleep webinar and the email address to reach out to if you're interested in attending. And we're also always wanting to know if there's anything you think the Breastfeeding Coalition could be doing to better support you or the families you work with. So now is a great chance to share that with us too, either by unmuting yourself or typing into the chat box.
Kara, this is Allison Marcoux.
Hi, Allison.
Has anyone yet mentioned, I know this isn't specifically about breastfeeding, but that WIC is in the process of rolling out their eWIC, which is a card instead of having our benefits listed on checks. And so if anyone out there works with families that the check process has not been easy at the store, and if you hear of people that are reluctant to enroll in WIC because of that, please share that there are new days upon us for WIC and a much easier store process, because WIC is a great resource for breastfeeding support. So we don't want families to stay away because of that. That store process has been such a challenge for a million years. So good days are upon us.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a big deal and really exciting to see that that time has finally come. All right. It sounds like that's about it. If anyone has anything else to add, now's your chance before we wrap up and everyone can enjoy the day. Kelly, thanks for adding that information about the Maine Parent Federation webinar with Dr. Blaisdell. And I think you said that was about how to help kids, what suggestions to offer families to help kids transition to school. Was that right? Okay, well, we have the link there to find out more. All right, thank you everyone for joining us for the panel discussion earlier and for this portion of the meeting. As always, if you have any questions or anything you want to add, I'm going to add our email address, mainebreastfeeds@gmail.com, if you have anything that you would like to share with us or any questions you have. Thanks everyone and have a great day.
Thanks, Kara.
Thank you, Kara.